Hello and welcome to, wow, I'm losing track of episodes here, but we got another one, another episode of The Real Deal with Josh and Charles. And that little giggle you just heard, well, you probably thought it was Josh's. It's actually, I'm super excited about this episode. I have a special guest on the show. His name is Mark, and we go way back.
Hey, hi, Charles.
There he is.
We do go way back, about like 10 years.
Yeah, so this is a fun episode for me because I was chatting with Mark. He works at the Coolidge Corner Theater in Brookline, Massachusetts, and that's where I used to work. That's where we met, and he runs one of the best midnight series and film programming series in the country, in my opinion. So it's a real treat to have him on the show.
That's very nice of you. Although I agree. I totally agree with you. It's one of the best around.
Totally is. So we're going to do a little sneak peek at your upcoming midnight film, Mulholland Drive. And then because you're living in good old Boston, we decided to dust off the shit heap that is Boondock Saints 2.
You know, I really enjoyed the first film, and I had been purposefully staying away from the sequel because of how abysmal I had heard it was, and the legends are true.
Yeah, I forced you into it.
Yeah, I'm not enjoying. I'm watching this film like I'm only an hour and a half into it. Is that ruined for your listeners?
You're usually not supposed to admit to the fact that you didn't watch the whole thing
that we're discussing.
But honestly, Josh, he never admits it, and I don't think he's watched half the movies we've actually been talking about.
I'm admitting it because I think it really is telling. I have no desire to continue watching this film, despite the fact that there's 60 minutes remaining in it. It's one of the worst things, and there's so many reasons why it's terrible.
Absolutely, and I think we'll get into it. I just want to, for anyone who's listening and wondering where the fuck Josh's little remarks are and little put downs of me are. Well, he fucking bailed this week, but so Mark graciously took over as co-host, and who knows?
So it's the Mark and Charles show.
The Mark and Charles show. Actually, I sort of like. I like that K. That hard K is real nice.
A hard K, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure the double AR like Mark and Charles is working. I don't know.
Yeah, it's got a whole pirate vibe to it.
Yeah, have you? Yeah, that's true. Have you ever considered like changing your name to something like Jock or Joss? I don't know.
To Josh?
Not to Josh. I like that K. I really like that K.
Right. Yeah.
Well, just in case Josh never comes back, we can talk about your name thing, just in case.
It's on the table.
It's on there. Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit? Tell yourself about yourself and what you do, and yeah.
Sure. My name is Mark Anastasio. I'm the program manager at the Coolidge, like Charles had said. I've been working there about 10 years, full-time as the program manager for the last 3 years, but I've been involved in the midnight programming since I started in 2007. And the series runs all year round. It's a film series that runs every Friday and Saturday. Every single weekend you can come out to the Coolidge and see something weird and wonderful. Most of the time on 35 millimeter in our beautiful movie house 1. And yeah, Mulholland Drive is the film coming up next weekend. Charles and I met when I started in 2007. You were the guy that trained me, actually, like my first weekend at the theater, and I was getting nervous because you were on your way out, and everyone was referring to me as like the replacement for Charles, but they were saying it in a way that they were really disappointed because you were such a beloved character at the theater. I think you're one of the most talked about veterans.
Wow.
So yeah, I felt that I had some big shoes to fill.
Well, you fucking, that's incredible that you started off as a little, popcorn salter and
Yeah,
nobody. And then,
popcorn server.
yeah, and then you just went right for it and made a midnight series, which I honestly I've been trying to do a series there. It was okay. I just got in and then I moved, but you fucking it sounds like you swooped in. Didn't you lie to everyone about it too in the beginning? You like made up
Why?
numbers and shit.
Oh yeah, when we changed executive directors years ago, there was some talk about discontinuing the series um, or decreasing the number of screenings from every weekend to maybe just once or twice a month. And there was definitely an instance where in a meeting on the record, I had to actually say that, well, what are we going to do with all these people that just show up at the box office window at midnight asking what the midnight movie is? And, the new ED years ago said, is that true? And I said, well, yes, of course it is. While everybody else was just kind of looking at me knowing full well that that was not a thing. But it worked and bought us a little bit more time, which is all I was really hoping for, to really build a consistent audience. I mean, doing the program regularly is what has sort of built up a core group of like 50 wonderful weirdos who come out every weekend just to see what we're doing. And I'm very thankful that we have a core audience.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing there was to really make people get attracted to the program, to make it less frequent. I'm not sure that would have been the best approach. That's pretty much the death knell for small programs.
And it had sort of, there was an ebb and flow to the series, in the first couple of years I was there, where we'd be doing it regularly, and then we'd have a weekend where a single film, would have had a really poor turnout. So then the very next weekend it was, we're taking the next 2 weeks off, to I don't know what the thought process was to build up people's desire to come out and see this sort of stuff.
Oh, that's true.
And then of course, when you finally did play a film 2 or 3 weeks later, you'd find that the audience was exactly the same. So we're in a good place. I mean, we've been able to increase attendance the last 5 years running. So it's only gone up and up and up in a business where film attendance is constantly fluctuating from year to year, depending on the quality of your first run titles. So where the standard first run features of any given theater, and even the Coolidge can be up in 2012 and down in 2013 and then back way up in 2014, but then down in 2015, the Midnight series has seen a steady increase in viewership, where we have more and more people coming every year. And I think that's pretty significant.
That's fucking awesome. That's great. So we're going to talk about Mulholland Drive, and I think, well, I don't know. Do you want to end on a high note, or you want to?
Yeah, totally. Let's get this fucking terrible piece of shit out of the way first.
We'll come back to that. But yeah, so I made you watch the Boondock Saints 2, and honestly, I think that's why Josh skipped out this week, because he just couldn't. I don't think he could even suffer the thought of watching that movie. But
he couldn't stomach it.
Yeah, dude, it's I told my friend, I tried to get anyone I knew to come watch it with me, and they said that I'd already watched it before with them like 4 years ago, and I have no memory of that. So
this is the type of thing that the human brain would repress.
Yeah, it's like Shutter Island, except with the Boondock Saints. But it's honestly, it's such a fucked up movie. Honestly, the Mulholland Drive, which we'll get to a little later, is like, it's confounding in a lot of ways, and it certainly is mysterious. This movie, I have no idea really what to think of this movie, because if you take it at face value, it's an absolute pile of shit that I don't know. I just don't know how it could get made, other than, the whole director, he's sort of a wild man and could force things through. But it's just like I feel like every time there's some goofy shit that is like racist, homophobic, all this terrible. And it's like, is that I couldn't tell if it, like, the only way I could stomach it was to consider maybe every time something like that came up was like, maybe this is a satire of
No,
Boston masculinity. But then I remembered Troy Duffy's fucking ugly head, and I was like, no, this is definitely what this guy wants to make.
like everything that was an undertone in the original film, which I actually liked, is now just in the forefront of the sequel, and it's not funny. I don't think it's satirical. I don't know how they even got some of these actors to say some of these horrible lines. Like, how did they read a script with this homophobic, horrible dialogue in it and then say, oh yeah, that's going to come off as really funny?
Yeah.
I don't understand how it got made. It's like, the whole thing just kind of feels like a piece of fan fiction that was written after someone saw the original and was like, oh, here's how a sequel would go, with everything sort of ramped up to horrible levels. And I don't know, the overuse of wicked is one of the I mean, first off, the film starts off with characters that were, those, like Sean Patrick Flannery, Connor and Murph from the first movie, and Norman Reedus, they were kind of heroic in the first film, and in this they're kind of douchebags, I think is the word, right?
Yeah,
like they're just sort of mean douchebags, and they any bit of heroism that was exemplified by them is sort of thrown out the window with one-liners like, like when they're embarrassed to be in the stereotypically over-the-top Mexican dude's car.
Oh my God.
And they talk about how embarrassed they are, and like to give examples, they say it's like the only way they could be more embarrassed is if they were either riding a moped or fucking a fat girl. They just keep knocking themselves down multiple pegs until you're kind of wanting them to get shot in the fucking head.
Yeah, dude.
And for the credits to just start to roll.
I know, and you only got an hour and a half into, or an hour, I don't even know. But it's true. I mean, I also enjoyed the first one, and there's certainly problems with it. It's a flawed movie in a couple of ways, but overall, I think what you're talking about is so true, because the first one is, it is, these people are heroic. You're rooting for them. They have sort of a crass sense of humor, and they're not the nicest people, but they have a life. The movie had so much life to it. You could just sort of forgive all the weird inconsistencies. This is like, you talked about how they got these actors to say these lines. It's so true. You watch these, like, they're all 8 years older now. They just look so pathetic, and
they do. They're haggard.
Dude, the first time the three cops showed up again, it was like one of the saddest introductions of characters I've ever seen. What's that guy?
It's like you guys have obviously done absolutely nothing in the last 8 years. Like, it's like they've stayed in costume.
Yeah, and that was actually well, I'll probably talk about costumes a little bit with Mulholland Drive, but it looked really, honestly, what you mentioned, fan fiction, it reminded me of like the porn parody of the Boondock Saints, except no one fucked anything. They just talked about how uncomfortable they were fucking dudes all the time, but it had I mean, honestly, I bet one of these companies could make a much better, what's the one that makes all the parodies? I forget, Wicked something. They could make a fucking incredible Boondock Saints porn parody. And this was just... Yeah,
if there was still a fan base, which after this movie, there's no way that there is.
Yeah, it's... but I think the biggest problem I was thinking of was like, the first one came out in the late 90s, and that was a really fun time for movies, and movies have changed so much over the years, and that was like Quentin Tarantino and all those indie filmmakers who are really vibrant and raucous. It was all about the script and action, and it worked back then. And I think Troy Duffy's like just sort of a moron person, and like Quentin Tarantino is, I mean, we actually talked about Hateful Eight on an earlier episode, and all these directors who really made a name for themselves back then in that sort of heyday of all, if they're still making movies, it seems like they figured out a way to age and make movies and evolve and grow as a filmmaker. Troy Duffy is like his second feature film in 8 years. It's like he tried to essentially make the exact same movie all over again, and he didn't even realize that all that time had passed. The filmscape had changed so much, and he's still trying to make a stupid action movie that's all about, homophobia and really stupid one-liners.
A film all about homophobia that like starts off with like two dudes. They have like a shower in the barn. Man.
Yeah,
it's just like all butt cheek and like shaving beards.
Well, that's why I had to imagine that it's some sort of satire, because there's that whole sequence. Did you get to the sequence where he meets up with in a dream? They meet up with that old guy from the first movie who died, and they talk. No,
I didn't see what they meet up. No, I didn't even get to that.
Well, there's a scene where he's they're dreaming, and he's talking with the weird guy from the first one. Who?
Rocco.
Yeah, Rocco. Yeah, and they like.
He's a great character in the first movie.
He was perfect for the Boondock Saints. He was exactly what that movie needed. And he comes back here and he does this weird sequence about what it is to be a man. And it's like, I have to. There's no way this could be taken seriously. It's like, it's either the defining moment of the movie, really letting us in to see what this movie's really about, or it's really just a travesty moment that just shows us what a fucking asshole Troy Duffy is.
It's got to be the latter. It must.
Yeah. Did you see that documentary about him that came out? I'm not sure when it was.
I do have some sort. I mean, I have this knowledge of him, so I must have seen something.
Yeah, I think it was called Overnight, and it was really just about like his overnight success, and he's just sort of an asshole, and
how it ruined it.
Yeah, and then Harvey Weinstein sort of like took all of his money back, and yeah, I didn't see it, but it reminded me of the Donnie Darko guy too, who was also notoriously like really controlled the show, but was not very good at it, and somehow made a really good movie.
What was his name? He did a premiere of at the Coolidge. He did a screening of Southland Tales for the cast and crew of. He directed that film, The Gift.
Yeah,
Richard Kelly, right?
Yeah, Richard Kelly. I saw both of those movies. I
have an anecdote that I probably shouldn't tell about how terrible Richard Kelly was, but he was not, he was definitely someone who had started to believe their own hype. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was pretty obvious in my dealings with him at the theater, and that's how I feel about Troy Duffy. I feel like he was so into his own brand, like, and he made the film that in this sequel that no one should ever have allowed him to make. Like at some point, someone should have reined him in. I don't know like who was supervising this, but
he was, I think.
He reminds me of that. Who was that filmmaker? Joe Carnahan. You know that director, Joe Carnahan? He does terrible action movies too.
I don't know. The name does not sound familiar.
Oh, and then you have a whole back catalog.
Yeah.
This dude stuff.
Josh and I sort of call it the Christopher Nolan effect, where like you just sort of let a guy run. I called it the J.K. Rowling effect back in the day, where you just like you let someone who has got famous make all the decisions, even if they're not good decisions, and no one can like step up and say, hey, maybe we should edit this a little bit or make it make some fucking sense and not be a piece of shit. But he probably would I think he just fired everyone. There's a funny scene from the trailer for that documentary where Willem Dafoe's just like, would you just shut your mouth? And I feel like that's what he needed on this movie, just someone to tell him to shut the fuck up and maybe let somebody else have a little input in this.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Willem Dafoe was good in the original too. Then all of that, anything that was good about the original is completely gone.
Yeah.
From whatever the fuck this is that's paused on my television screen right now.
Oh, what clip are you on right now? What you got on the screen
I'm looking at the back of an old man's head. We're at an hour and 23 minutes into it. Yeah.
And you got the fucking director's cut which is like 20 minutes longer or something.
I guess. Let me see this. Oh yeah, it is the director's cut.
Damn.
Shit, why would I ever do this to myself?
Yeah, I think mine was
running times.
Yeah, mine was a mere 1 hour 58 minutes, and yours is like what, 220 something?
I mean, normally I would never shit all over a film that like I haven't watched in its entirety, but this is probably the one exception in the world.
No, I think this is the worst movie ever made, or at least that I've ever seen. I'm not even joking. I could not think of a movie that I enjoyed less than this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's essentially, it's not a sequel, it's a fucking remake. The whole, like, all that fun of in the first one when, we see the carnage and we watch Willem Dafoe do his thing and figure out exactly what happened. Like, that happens all over the place in this one. Like, the fuck-ass character comes back and he's just annoying. Everything, it's just like, the first one was so exuberant and just outlandish, and the soundtrack was in your face, all that stuff that was happening back then, and the plot was so simple. It was like two brothers are sick of crime and they just take it into their own hands, and it's like a really fun buddy movie with a bunch of psychopaths. And then this one is just, they tried to create the same story, even though there's no impetus. Like, we see a priest get murdered in their style to like drag them back, but for what fucking reason? I mean, you don't know because you didn't finish it, but I finished it and I still don't really even fucking know what the fuck this. It's like, apparently some almost crime boss set this up to drag them back so they would take out the real crime boss so he could get the crime boss seat. But it's so fucking stupid. And there's all the like Godfather 2 flashbacks. Did you see any of those?
I did. I
Okay.
saw some of the period flashbacks. It's their father taking revenge.
Yeah, where you see the birth of the leather gun vest.
Yeah.
As though I really needed to see where that came from.
Right. You needed the origin story for that article of clothing.
Oh yeah, there's a great like slow-mo sequence where the young version of the father. That's a famous actor too, isn't it?
It's Billy Connolly.
Yeah. He's what the fuck is he doing? It's so sad.
He's a pretty funny comedian, but there's no way he was laughing at all throughout the production of this film.
Well, there's a great scene where the young version, the actor who plays the young man, in slow motion grabs the guns off of his nice new leather gun vest thing, and it's like, I don't know if you got to this part, but it's like he fumbles getting the guns out, and it's in super slow motion, so you just see every mistake that's being made. It's like, oh my god. Oh, it's such a...
I'm looking at the cast list, and I see that at some point Peter Fonda is going to show up in this film.
Wow.
Do you even remember Peter Fonda being in this movie?
Yeah, he's the guy that I was talking about, the almost mob boss. He puts on a real shit Italian accent, I think. I couldn't really tell. Yeah, the accents.
Judd Nelson's also doing a terrible Italian accent and using the term wicked, and he also says something about a donkey punch, which is just like, that a script is classless and not worth your time if the term donkey punch is featured in it.
We actually were talking before when we were trying to, get the tech stuff out of the way about how, we're just a bunch of, we don't give a shit about PC culture. We're just a bunch of dudes and we say things. And this movie managed to make me feel not really offended, but just sort of disappointed and sad in the choices they made. Because like, it was just such a meek attempt at like all this racist, homophobic shit. It was just a nightmare.
I'm offended by this film. And
yeah. I know. It's like, I really don't get offended too often, but man, this was an offensive movie.
It really is. I mean, I feel like I can, what offends me the most is like, I start to picture the target audience for it. And I think that's what's upsetting me the most.
6.3 on IMDb.
Yeah.
6.3. I'll just
people,
leave it at that.
Yeah. Out of 10? 6.3 out of 10?
Out of 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would understand if this were Pitchfork rating this movie.
It's like every college kid that moved to Boston for school and then was like, I want to watch like a real badass Boston movie. And then they rented it. So we're like, yeah, dude, like this is Boston right here. This is how you deal with stuff in Boston.
Yeah.
No fatties.
Yeah.
No homo.
Nope. None of that. We can't do that here. Dude, just, yeah, I can't do a Boston accent.
Yeah, I could, but I'm not going to do it.
I'm not going to try that. They also can't. None of the actors could, yet they all attempted it.
It's like, yeah. I mean, I bet. What did this come out? This must have come out like after The Departed. Oh yeah, definitely. This is
a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so this is riding high on that, like Boston. It's like we're making a Boston crime movie. Like those always do good. Kid.
Yeah.
And like they must have gotten some bankroll that way. And they were like, look at the script. The word wicked appears in it like 6 times, dude.
6 times. Yeah, and the least believable part was that their enormous back tattoos were all stick and pokes.
Right, yeah, like it's like sort of like a Bic pen system. That was that was the only portion of the film that made me focus my interest on a particular point.
Yeah.
It was just like they're giving each other like massive back tattoos with like 1 centimeter at a time. This Bic pen system. I wonder if they researched that at all because it didn't look right.
Did you do you have any stick and pokes?
I do, sadly.
You do? No, I mean I never got it done, but it's why do you say sadly?
I don't recommend it.
Oh, really? Would you recommend a huge back piece done stick and poke?
No, that would be really painful.
It would take literally I would have to have a man sitting on my shoulders for my entire life creating that back tattoo.
Yeah. I mean, I remember thinking that their tattoos were cool in the first film.
Right.
And now they managed to even strip that from me. In the sequel. It was they had the Equitas and Veritas tattoos on their trigger fingers and mysterious Celtic crosses, giant Celtic crosses on their forearms, and 18-year-old Mark was like, that's pretty cool, dude.
Fucking cool. And even Zack Snyder, understands that slow motion is sort of out right now, and yet here Troy Tuffy comes back strong with his slow motion gun battle sequences again and again.
Yeah, just shells hitting the floor.
He's just like he's like a man who was frozen in time and just didn't understand that the world had changed.
Yeah, like the 3 detective actors.
Yeah, except unfortunately they definitely aged.
I imagine that when they shut the lights off on the set of the first film, those 3 just stayed there and just sort of they withered. Yeah. They withered to the point where we see them now in the second film, and they don't miss a beat. They've got all their homophobic one-liners like ready to go. Oh God, they're just like they've been stored up so long they just couldn't wait to get it out. Did you get to the point where jokes and them saying that they're not asserting that they're not gay?
Yeah.
While they watch Murphy and Connor take showers.
Yeah, there's a scene, Bob Marley's death sequence. Which you probably didn't get to that.
No, one of the actors' names is Bob Marley, right? Yeah.
He's actually
Bob Marley.
He's the tall guy who got put in front of Special Agent Eunice's crotch.
Greenlee, yeah, Detective Greenlee.
Well,
how is your name Bob Marley and you don't change that at some point as you're going into an acting career?
Well, funny thing is he's actually probably the most famous Maine comedian, and as a Maine resident and a Maine long.
Oh, he's a Mainer?
Yeah, he's a fucking Mainer.
Is that what you guys call yourselves?
Mainers? Yeah, Mainers.
All right, cool.
He's I think he did like a 24-hour charity set, which somebody went to and said was pretty bad, but he did do comedy for 24 hours straight or something.
All right.
Yeah, so he's not all bad, but he is all bad in this movie. And there's a scene, his final, his final moment. He literally,
I have the feeling that like Bob Marley is definitely going to listen to this. It's like
yeah,
that I get from seeing like
that's true.
he's
I think
probably
I,
hungry for any press.
yeah, he literally bursts through a door, grabbing his crotch, and like making some thing about how he's not gay, even though he says that in every scene, and then he just gets shot through the chest with a shotgun and bleeds out.
He dies?
Yeah, he dies. It's like the only justice in this movie. Oh
I'll
boy.
have to catch one of his sets sometime.
Yeah.
He has to modify his posters like, no, not the dead legendary singer. I'm a comedian.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he did go through a brief like reggae comedy phase, but no, I'm just joking. It's not true.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
No, he's a tall. I don't even know what he does. I'm not sure. I went to a local Maine comedy show.
I have a pretty good sense of it. It's probably a lot of dick jokes.
It could be, honestly. Maybe he wrote half the screenplay.
Yeah,
no.
That's what I'm thinking. No? Oh, okay.
I don't think Troy could let that up.
I don't think anyone wrote the screenplay. I feel like they just...
It's just
like they all just got together and played out their wildest fantasies.
I was actually thinking today about, karma and about how bad, like, bad things happening. This is just like the ultimate. I was thinking rather than good karma, like I feel like bad karma is way more effective, and when something bad happens to you, it really makes you want to go do bad things to other people, even if they're not involved, or at least me.
Sure.
Anyway. So like, I feel like this is just the ultimate of karmic accumulation of bad karma. It's like a bunch of fucking terrible shit happened, and it just made this screenplay.
Yeah, but didn't it all lead to is there a third film? Is that true? Or did I dream that just out of fear of watching this film?
Well, there is one. If you type in, if you have Google auto search, fill in search on, and you type in Boondock Saints, it tries to it thinks of you and what you would be thinking about, and it does pop in a 3. One of the choices is 3.
No.
Yeah, and you can...
so there's a concept of it somewhere out there.
And let me tell you, the ending, which you will never see, it definitely requests a third one. And I will also spoil this for you and anyone who has not seen it, that another, what's his name? Willem Dafoe is also ruined. He does have a brief cameo at the very end of the movie.
No, why? They said that he's dead, and I was like, thank God.
No, he's not dead, and now he has a southern accent, which I don't believe he had in the first one. He pretended to be dead because something, and he sits there and he talks about how he's going to... Okay, yeah, so the Boondock Saints get arrested, and then especially...
At this point, no one is going to ever watch this movie that's listening to this. Might as well.
Yeah, so they get arrested and they're sitting in jail, and then Willem Dafoe's like, "Yeah, we'll bust him out," but he says it for some reason in a weird southern accent. And then they cut to the scene in the prison where the Boondock Saints are like, they don't have their shirts on, I think, and
of course not.
And then Eunice is like, "This just this isn't some regular prison," and he says, "Oh, but it is just some regular prison," and then she says, "But aren't they," since she implies because they put so many people in jail, and then she says, "Aren't they going to get killed in jail, basically?" And then he says, pause, a beat, I think they call it, beat, "I don't think that's something they need to worry about." And then it cuts to them pretending to have guns shooting at people, and that's the end of the movie. And I think that rendition was maybe a little better than if you just watched it, because it did take a lot less time, and you didn't have to see Willem Dafoe. I know everything. You're so right. Everything that was so good about the first one is just destroyed.
It's completely undone.
Yeah, which is why it is weird, because Willem Dafoe was a strange bit of light in the first one, where it was, there was some homophobic stuff going on, but he was a openly gay character. And
He
it
was.
was like scene, but I think it also was mocking him too. I honestly, Troy Duffy's a piece of shit. I'm not going to give him the benefit of the doubt in any way.
No, he shouldn't. He shouldn't have that. He
Yeah,
doesn't have that for you.
yeah. So this thing's a fucking mess, and I don't even think it would be fun to watch. It certainly isn't fun to watch by yourself, but I don't even think it could be fun to watch with anybody.
No, I think that if you put this film on, like if you had a friends over, or if anyone, if let's just like flat out state it, like if anyone recommends this film to you, you should no longer associate with that person either professionally or personally.
Yeah, unfriend them. Stop following their tweets. Just they're a human being that has very little worth.
Right.
Yeah.
We
and
can make that blanket statement. Even 6.3. It's got a 6.3 on IMDb from hundreds of thousands of people out there.
Probably. Let's see the breakdown of. Can I still do that? Yeah, there we go. I used to, when I was bored at the Coolidge, actually, I started doing this, was try to find movies that had more women votes than male votes.
Okay.
It was such a rare thing. I didn't know if, we should have some sort of referendum in the government to make sure that there's equality in IMDb voting. Like, look at this shit. 41,000 males have rated the Boondock Saints 2 to as a meager 5,200 females. And what's even crazier is that the females gave it a higher rating overall. The average female rating is a good point higher than the male.
That's astonishing.
Females under 18, 8.5. That's the average rating for females under 18, 8.5. They must love their backs and butts.
You think it's just their butts?
Well, let me tell you, ladies under 18, there are much better movies with backs and butts. Only 4 IMDb staff members have fucking rated this movie. How many IMDb staff members are there? And only 4 have rated this movie. Jesus. Oh.
Wow. Supposedly it's an $8 million film, and its gross was over $10 million. So like this thing made money. Man, I guess we're just wrong.
It's a roaring success. And honestly, I do give them credit for somehow managing to make a movie for under $10 million in the year 2009. That's a good accomplishment. Yeah. But 6,000 people gave this a fucking 10.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I wouldn't lie to you about that.
There's a review that says, I got what I wanted as a fan.
Oh, Jesus. What could you possibly want? See, that's the thing is I don't want to know you.
Right.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
For after 10 years, but good nonetheless.
Yeah. I mean, we can.
That's false. Your opinion is false.
We could chat about statistics all day, I think.
No, we should probably just move on.
Yeah, but it was fun. Thanks so much for watching an hour and 20 minutes of it.
An hour and 23 minutes of it.
Yeah. That was more than enough. And it just breaks down. That was the last thing I'm going to say is that for all the quick, very simple storyline, the storyline is just, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't hold you together. And I'm so happy that we didn't talk about the Mexican dude for more than one sentence because that was potentially the most offensive part of the movie.
It was very offensive. And I don't know what Clifton Collins Jr. has against the entire country of Mexico, but I'm sure they've got something against him now.
His IMDb blurb starts with an acting chameleon who can easily lose himself in the life of his film and television character.
He lost himself, all right?
Yeah, he did.
If he is of Mexican descent, he lost his heritage.
Yeah. His great-grandparents were Mexican trumpet players. So there you go. A little Clifton insight. But
they've rolled over in their graves.
Yeah. I would love to hear the insight of why you chose to show Mulholland Drive, why you're showing that this coming weekend at the Coolidge.
Mulholland Drive, why did I want to play it? Because it was the one David Lynch film that I hadn't yet seen.
Oh, wow.
That's yeah, that's something that I admit to every so often. That uh, a big reason, one of the best reasons for me to program something is so that I can personally watch it for the first time on 35 millimeter. Um, that didn't happen in this case because we wanted to talk about it on your show. So I saw the beautiful Criterion Blu-ray of it
Okay.
a few weeks ago, and I watched it again this week. And
Oh, wow. So you're
I'm
an
I'm
expert.
into it. Yeah, it totally it mystified me in a good way, as opposed to the film that we were just discussing.
Yeah.
Uh,
What's
we,
the, oh, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. No, please.
I just was curious, what's the percentage of 35 or just film to digital that you show at the midnight?
It's probably 90%. I would say over 90%.
Awesome. That's
Yeah, I
exciting.
mean,
Yeah.
we try to play a lot of new films, and even on a weekend where we're playing a new genre film, that'll be upstairs, and then downstairs in the main house we'll be playing a repertory title on 35 millimeter.
Sweet. And this is a good one to see on film. I also watched the Criterion Blu-ray of it, and it looked good. They did good work there. And for visual, Lynch is so visual in his storytelling. It is. I really wish I could be there to watch it at the Coolidge, which is still my favorite movie theater that I've been to.
Seeing his stuff on a larger screen and in that format is a really good time because he's a very effective filmmaker. His films always bring out a sizable audience, and seeing the reactions to his movies with an audience, or seeing how the audience reacts is a hell of a lot of fun. I remember when we had a great house for Fire Walk with Me when we ran that on film. The Twin Peaks was like, it just seemed like everybody was watching Twin Peaks on Netflix for the time that it was available.
Yeah.
And so we booked that film, and we had like well over 200 people come out for a midnight screening of it. And seeing people jump at the right moments and get, a whole room full of people get awkward at the right moments was kind of rad. There's like that monkey face in that film. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
When that monkey face hit the screen, I was just watching the crowd and saw people jump so far that they were like climbing over the backs of the chairs. Like it was a real good time. You just saw like popcorn hit the air.
Nice. Well, you can have a similar, I don't think it'll be quite as dramatic, but the weird like hobo devil creature that's in this one.
People are gonna jump.
Dude, I was sitting on my couch with my dogs, and that was fucking terrifying.
Yeah, no, it's a really scary scene because they're talking in the diner, and he's talking about how it's a fear that like he's trying to face, or like something that he's really terrified of, and then they bring him outside to face that fear. So it's coming, and it's just like the corner is so tight as the camera's moving slowly and slower toward it, and it's about to happen, and you're still able to be terrified by it. I mean, it's really well done.
It is. It's really cool. And there's so many awesome things about this movie. And just speaking of that scene and special effects, it is so nice to watch a movie where special effects are done through something other than computers. And it's just gives it such a different reaction for me.
Yeah, I wonder if it seemed like some of them were like, in-camera effects, like the opening of some of the effects that were being done. It almost reminded me of, I can't think of the film, but it's almost experimental at times, like the layering and the visual effects that are being put in front of you. I don't know. I really dug it. I'm not sure that I completely understood the film. I definitely was left with like I think I ran into the other room to talk to my wife about it, and was just like, I don't know what just happened, but here it is. Let me lay it out for you. You tell me what you
Boom.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the fun things about this movie and other movies is that, you can certainly get trapped in trying to really figure out what exactly happened, which, good for you if that's what you want to do. I think this movie works on so many levels that even if this is, I think, the third time I've seen it, but I hadn't seen it in a while. But even without even trying to focus in on too much what the fuck's going on, it still speaks to so many different ideas, and the way that he can tell a story that is nearly incoherent. No, it's very coherent, but it's just like very hard to follow. He still, all the ideas that he was really exploring, I think, came out. Yeah, I mean, it reminded me a lot of Persona comes to mind, and Three Women. I think it's really an exploration of identity and sort of love and death. It just really hit a lot of home runs and did some really crazy shit to look at who people are, especially when they're in love with somebody else.
It's well put.
Have you seen Persona, the Bergman film?
I haven't, but we're screening it. We're screening it on May 26th with Liv Ullmann in person.
Shit.
Yeah.
Dude,
it's pretty exciting. We got a print of it, and she's a resident of Boston, so we're doing an anniversary screening of it, and she'll be on stage in conversation with Ty Burr from the Boston Globe.
Oh, sweet. I might have to get down there for that, because I think that's my favorite Bergman.
I'd love to have you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely, it reminded me, there's a lot of similarities just superficially, but I think it really, especially communication and just like the sense of self, is really fascinating to watch in these movies where you sort of lose track of who's who, very literally. Like characters swap roles, but
exactly.
They don't. And you try to figure out who they are in these different scenes, and you can easily forget, even though he does an exquisite job of making sure he leaves all the clues so that you know exactly where you are.
And he did it. I mean, that happens in Lost Highway too, right? Isn't it Lost Highway where one character just becomes another person entirely at some point in the film?
That sounds about right. Honestly, I have only seen that once, and it was a long time ago. But I remember really enjoying it.
And when that happened, like the whole audience started like talking amongst themselves.
Oh man!
Just trying to make sure that what they were thinking had happened did in fact just happen. I'm excited to see how it plays with the group. I love these films, his films in particular, where you have these, like when the film starts off, you're with Naomi Watts' sort of bright-eyed, hopeful, aspiring actress who's coming to Los Angeles, with dreams of stardom. And I like it when he has those types of characters that he then presents with a seedy underbelly, and they eventually they're faced with evil. Like Blue Velvet is one of my favorite films because of that. Like Kyle MacLachlan falling into the clutches of Frank Booth is one of my favorite films of all time.
Yeah, definitely. It's true. It's such a he does it so well.
Sullied,
Yeah, who doesn't enjoy a good sully? No, he loves that like the ear and Blue Velvet and the cube box, and this is like he has these definite like transportations where
exactly. Yeah, that's
we had thought we knew is just, it's like it's very similar, and we have all these confusing things to work through, but it's really that's exactly what it is. I happen to be reading I read Bret Easton Ellis's Imperial Bedrooms this week. I don't know if you've read any of his stuff.
Just he's Do They Wrote American Psycho, right?
Yeah.
That's all.
It's interesting, even though they're very different in a lot of ways. I honestly can't think of a single movie that like is specifically set in Los Angeles that makes it out to be anything other than a soul-sucking, terrible, terrible place. Because all of his books that take place in LA are all about how vapid and alone everyone is, and this movie is very specifically set in LA, and it's just sort of people coming there to try to do something exciting, and they end up just losing everything. It's so weird that this place where they're making all these movies, they're just deciding to also point out how awful a place it is. Like The Long Goodbye it comes to mind as like a very specific sort of LA movie. Yeah, LA, man. I've been there once.
I've never been, but due to its depiction in film, is one of the major reasons why I haven't had an interest.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah.
Like
maybe they're just trying to keep it away.
Maybe
like it really is. Like maybe there really is success there. They just don't want all of us traveling out that far.
Well, there's obvious success, but I believe it comes at the hands of, fucking children and using a hell of a lot of drugs and murdering people. I mean, that's all from the film and books that I've read about Los Angeles. Oh yeah, and of course Raymond Chandler, like his books are so much about LA and how terrible it is in a lot of ways. Dude, it's a fright. And yeah, definitely the perfect nightmare scene for Lynch to explore these ideas. And I really liked, we were talking about how terrible the characters looked in Boondock Saints and just how awful it was to watch them have to act. I think Lynch is the opposite, where he chooses these actors who are fucking awesome and they look sort of like they're acting, but then they're also sort of so un-actor looking that it just becomes really creepy.
Like Dan, what's his name? Dan Hedaya is in this movie, who I absolutely love. He's one of those guys that I think is a brilliant actor and doesn't necessarily look like, a movie star. He was also he was the club owner in Blood Simple.
Okay.
A ton of films. Yeah, I think he's fantastic.
Who is he in this one?
He is one of the studio executives that comes in to meet with the director, Justin Theroux's director character, and puts down the briefcase and passes over the headshot. And I don't think I think he just says like, this is the girl or something like that.
Yeah, he's the one that spits out the...
Yeah, he just no, not the one that spits out the coffee. The one
okay. The guy looks like Richard Nixon?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. That's actually exactly the scene I was thinking about when I was like, those guys look only like they're actors, but also like completely uncastable actors at the same time. And for some reason, it just really works for his sorts of movies where you're sort of lost anyway and you don't really understand who anyone is. It's just, it's the exact opposite of the Boondock Saints, where the poor production value and bad acting styles were just so evident. Here it's like one more enigma of like how he went about the casting. Like I love the guy who played the man who confronted the evil bum. I don't remember his name, but I think he was in some Coen Brothers movies too. And there's like, again, very specific face about him that sort of fits in but doesn't. It's just very well cast in a strange way.
Yeah. Yeah, and the fact that it has a casting scene in the film, and that's like one of the, I don't know, that's one of the strongest. There's like that scene that features actors acting as actors stands out to me with Naomi Watts doing the, you wonder if she's going to nail the audition, and then she totally absolutely kills it. And the camera just lingers on them while she and that older actor go through the scene, and like she just turns it up to another notch. Like she's been this sort of plucky, happy-go-lucky character up until that point, and then when she enters this role, she's almost unrecognizable from how we've seen her up until that point. And then she changes yet again, by the end of the film. We see her as Diane.
Yeah. No, actually, that made me think that's a really good point, in that it's true. The changes, they definitely happen after that pivotal sequence, but you sort of already, like, they have very specific roles, but they do slowly shift. And I think, yeah, what's her, I don't remember the actress who played Camille and
Rita.
Rita, yeah. But she was great. Like her shift halfway through the movie was like it was almost like two different people. It
Yeah.
was very well done. Yeah, it's such a
She
great.
goes from being unsure of even a character that's unsure of everything because they don't remember who they are or much about themselves at all, and then we see her as someone who's just supremely confident and kind of running everybody in the room.
Yeah. And I think it sort of reminded me a little bit of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, where we're just presented with the idyllic, as you said. We're always, Lynch, like Blue Velvet, has this perfect person. And in this case, we have a perfect love scenario where two people, one who's not from the place and another who's lost her memory, come together and fall in love. And then we find out that it's just a completely destructive situation where they both end up, killing each other. And it's just like such a amazing exploration into love and fantasy, and ultimately how selfish and confused and we don't communicate and just destructive we are. Is really like one of the coolest ways to talk about this without really even bringing it up in a lot of ways.
And that's a film, I mean, it runs close to, I think it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes. So it has the same running time as Boondock, the director's cut of Boondock Saints 2. But like, it's paced so well and it's so intriguing and mysterious that at no point do you look at your watch. I remember I thought that it felt like it went by so quickly. Whereas I had to stop Boondock Saints film at 90 minutes just to step outside and remember what it was like to be a human being again.
Yeah, no, that's the sign of a good one.
Yeah,
Is that you really don't notice the time, and then there's the other side of it where, yeah, you. I think that's why cell phones were invented, to really just push through Boondock Saints 2. Well, maybe it sounds like you might be doing a little Boondock Saints 2 screening in the future of the Coolidge night.
There is no way that this will ever happen. I don't care if Troy Duffy offered me $20,000 to do a double feature.
Oh wow!
I would not only tell him no. I would try to cut his brake lines.
Oh boy!
That's just. I'm just kidding. I don't think I would. I don't wish him any. Actually, I take it back. I wish him pain and suffering.
At least an hour and a half.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's
Dude,
a payback. 90 minutes.
That he fucking imagine the half hour that they added into that movie. What the fuck?
I don't even want to know. Like, I'm just staring at the play button is on screen, and like I can see the timeline of how much more I have left, and I'm not the least bit curious.
No, throw it away.
Yeah.
Just throw it away. Sweet. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. I mean, this
was fun.
Even if Josh hadn't bailed, it was going to be great, and it's especially great since I wouldn't have had to like pretend. I think I was just going to pretend to be Josh and do two little. I don't know, but this is great.
Do you ever do two good movies?
Oh yeah, we. I think every once in a while we've done two good ones. We actually had a pretty good run.
I'd love to talk about two good ones sometime soon, so you should invite me back.
Oh, dude, anytime. You're always welcome. And yeah, so, and if you are listening to this as a precursor to the Midnight series, that's what, on the 29th?
That's right.
29th. So, and 30th, are both days? Or is it the 28th and 29th?
Oh, I wish I could say for sure, Charles. I just don't I don't have much of a memory for weekends. What are the dates next weekend? Hold on, I'm going to Coolidge.org to check.
Oh, see.
Friday and Saturday, April 29th and 30th, Mulholland Drive in 35 millimeter.
Well, there's no excuse to not go see it.
Yeah, and we will never play a Troy.
You're just not even gonna pretend one day. Could that be your last day at the Coolidge? Just like pop in the Blu-ray of Boondock?
It would be my last. Yeah, it would be over my cold corpse that would happen.
Wow, good. That's the kind of programming manager that we need.
Thanks, Charles.
All right, man. Well, thanks again for joining us, and I'm sure we'll have you back on soon.
Great.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks for listening, and I think Josh will be back at some point. Otherwise, we'll have some name changes and a new show and a new everything. So stay tuned. And thanks. I'll talk to you guys later.
Bye, everyone.